I just thought I would make a quick video with a little bit of info on my Sun Conure. My Sun Conure is a female. Her name is Luca, and I got her a little over 2 years ago, I think. Um, and she did come from a previous home. I think it was a good home because she's a sweet bird. Um, when we first got her, they thought and they told me that she was a boy. Um, and I found out later that she was a girl because she laid an egg. Um, and most sun conures they are known for being very loud birds. Um, uh, and being loud frequently, like a lot throughout the day. Um, I knew that. I had done research before we brought her home. Um, so I had done my research so that I knew what to expect, and I was prepared for the noise. Like that was my biggest thing that I tried to get ready for. Of course, I, got a cage, and got some stuff for her before we brought her home, but I was trying to like mentally prepare for the noise. Um, and so when I went to pick her up, um, we met where I used to work. I was a school teacher at one time, and I met them up at the school. Um, or I met the bird up at the school and took her home. And I knew to be careful with her and like not just immediately try to hold her, and because I figured she may be scared. So I got a lot of treats, peanuts, and sunflower seeds and things like that. Sunflower seeds, I got most of that. That's mostly what I would give her. And I just kept giving her treats. I had her in the cage. I somehow got her. I had bought like a smaller cage just to transport her, which I still have the cage, and actually I still use that cage as a sleep cage in my room because she does most of the time sleep in the same room with me, and I usually put her in that sleep cage. It's a smaller cage, and she only spends the night there, and when they're sleeping, they don't really move much, so they don't need a huge space for that. But anyway, um, and so that cage is what I used to transport her home. And I had a bigger cage for her to stay in. And somehow, I don't know how I got her out of the little cage into the big cage. I don't really remember. But I kept her in the big cage, and I would open the door and sit right in front of the cage and just keep giving her treats, sunflower seeds. And a couple of times she would make loud noises, and they are very loud. Like, um, it was weird. Like sometimes she makes a much louder noise, like a frantic calling noise, and that's her flock call. Um, but when I first got her, like she wasn't quite doing that, but there was a really loud noise. I can't even describe it. It's almost like it almost had like an electronic ring to it or something. It was weird, like a supersonic sound or something. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm not into that, but anyways, but it did not take her very long at all to start stepping up. I can't remember. I can't remember when I first got her, like how long it took. It might have been that day. I don't really know. Um, can't remember, but she quickly took to me, much faster than I had thought. Um, cause like when I first started holding her, like I would kind of have her on my hand, and she was really comfortable with it. It's almost like she just was a people person, I guess. I don't know. Um, and Kisses. Okay. Sometimes she'll turn to. Anyway, but it didn't take her long. So, um, one way I started with her, getting really kind of starting to bond with her, I guess. Like I would hold her close to my chest, and I would just hold my hand over her body. Um, And I guess she liked that security of feeling. Like, I don't know if she'll let me do it, but come here. She didn't bite me just now. She's just kind of touching me. No? Okay. I'm not going to make her. Um, but she would sit right here with her little head up here and her tail down there, and I would just hold her. And she would get real still and she'd go to sleep. And it did not take long before she was like, like you saw just a second ago, how she was buried in the back of my neck. It did not take her very long. Like, I just wish I could remember how many days she started doing that. But that was her place to be, was right at my neck in my hair. And she would sleep like that. But so it didn't take her long. Now, I will say that once she is on my shoulder, and I do need her to get off my shoulder, I can get her off. It's not much trouble for me to do that now, but she likes to be on my shoulder. And that is her spot. Her preferred spot. Right there on my shoulder. If she's awake, she's right here. If she wants to get cuddly and sleepy, she's all the way in my hair and in my neck. But she would sit here all day long, and she probably wouldn't eat. She doesn't like to fly. I don't know if she had her wings clipped previously, but I don't clip them anymore. Or I never clipped them, but it was almost like she's afraid to fly, but she has been flying just like a foot from like my little bedstand to me. But that's it on her own. And that's because she wants to get to my shoulder. So, and I'm happy for her. I want her to feel comfortable flying. Because if it ever got into a situation where she needed to fly away for safety, I'd love for her to be able to do that. But anyway, but she is not she is loud, but not all the time. Like most of the time, if I'm directly with her and nothing has startled her, these are the sounds she makes. Right? You probably hear my parakeet, or budgie, whatever you want to call her. I call them parakeets because that's just what I've always called them. But she stays in the living room, and my parakeet is my daughter's technically, but she does not like to be handled, touched. She tolerates us talking to her, but she's like highly antisocial. Unlike my Luca. Luca wants something at the moment. What you want? Yeah. Unfortunately, Luca got some of her tail blasted off. She was sitting on my shoulder. I was wearing like a tank top type thing, and she was not gripping onto the tank top. And when she doesn't have something to grip, it's very slippery. And so the one time that I was wearing a tank top, she she started sliding off of my shoulder, and I couldn't catch her quite fast enough. So she started she slid down, and in the process, I don't know what happened to her tail feathers, but I don't know if you can tell, but anyway, but her tail feathers, some of them she lost them. I don't know. There you go. You can kind of see her tail feathers are a little bit thin. They do grow back. She did that once before. I don't remember. Oh, hold on. I'm going to put her on a birch bed because I think she may need to go. If you saw how she was, I'm not going to video her at the moment, but you saw how like she kept getting kind of active, as if she wanted something. She's with me all day when I'm home, so sometimes I think I know she wants something other than to be on my shoulder, so I try to listen to her cues, and I can kind of tell because I've spent so much time with her that I can tell when she needs to relieve herself, I guess, or poop, bird poop, most of the time, if she is sitting on my shoulder and I'm kind of paying attention to her and I know she's there and I can tell when she needs to go, and she does not poop on me all the time. She does not. But she will if I am not picking up on her cues. Which now she's actually eating, but I can tell if she needs something other than what's there on my shoulder. So, but most of the time she doesn't poop on me at all. Especially when she's on my shoulder sleeping. I know she's not pooping then. But anyway, so I know her cues and I know when to set her on a perch or something to poop. So, but she will poop on me if I am walking around the house doing just things around the house and she's been on my shoulder and I'm not really I mean, I know she's on my shoulder, but she's on my shoulder so much that I kind of don't really pay attention to that. And so if I'm not really listening for her cues, or if I'm just moving around, then she will. She has pooped on me. But I don't think she wants to, because I think she's used to me putting her somewhere to do that. But anyway, it didn't happen intentionally. I just always tried to avoid being pooped on. So the first couple of months after I got her, like I noticed, I'm like, oh, every time she does this, like a lot of times, like if I was sitting with her on a chair or something, she would get off my shoulder and she'd start like backing up and doing this weird thing. And she would always poop. So I knew, like, oh, okay. So I just knew to look for those things. And sometimes I can tell by the way her sounds are, like it's a breathy sound, and she's like quietly making these sounds, like kind of trying to communicate with me, I guess. And I know, and we take care of it, and I just don't get pooped on. So anyhow, that's just a little bit about her, but she's not very loud at all most of the time, but she does get very loud. Like if she's in her cage, the big cage, not her sleep cage, but her big cage, and I first come home, she flock calls, and she knows when I pull into the driveway. Her big cage right now, I'm thinking of moving it, but her big cage is in the kitchen where we've got some windows that are right next to our driveway. So she knows when I pull up, or whatever, and she starts calling, and you can hear her from outside. She is very loud, and I could probably go to the neighbors and hear her. So that's why they say Sun Conures are not really good for apartments or like close dwelling situations. But she is very loud. I will say that, but not all the time. It's mostly when I just first come into the house and she is calling for me and letting me know where she is and that she wants me and she wants to know I'm there. So I usually try to call back to her, and most of the time I get her out pretty much immediately, because she just spends her time with me, when I'm home. So anyhow, and then sometimes she'll get loud. Sometimes if she's in her cage and I have to do something around the house, I'll put her in her cage and I'll go to another room. She might flock call for just a minute or two, and then she stops. Like, she's okay, I get it. You're not coming back right away. I'm okay with that, But that's pretty much it. Now, if she gets spooked by something, then she will get loud. But she doesn't always do that. But anyway, her name is Luca. She's a sweet little girl. She does bite sometimes, not me all the time, because I know sometimes I kind of push her buttons because I'm trying to do something, and I know that I need to stop. And if I don't, then she does bite me. But I don't do that often. I don't want her to bite me, so I'm not going to continue doing that. But she likes me, and she likes my daughter, but she doesn't really like my son or my husband very much. So they just maintain their distance, and my son talks about putting her in a pot, which is probably one of the reasons why she does not like him at all. Of course, he would never do that. He is joking, because he and Luca do not have a good relationship. My husband, he tries to get along with her, and he will try to sometimes try to pet her, and she's like, no. She will start kind of beaking at him, like, you leave me alone. Anyway, but she is just a chomping down over there on her perch next to my bed. So anyway, all right, well, I am going to go, and I'll try to do some more videos with her. So you can get to know her and get to know a little bit about Sun Conures.